Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Call of Duty League action continues. Benson and Chance to guide you through the next matchup. But joining us for a little bit of pre-game show, we have the wonderful analyst, which is nameless. And I think I want to speak on behalf of the entire community for a big thank you for breaking down Search and Destroy as well as you have done.
Yeah, you know, no worries. I thought that series was actually pretty fun to work on, you know, breaking down Search and showing some of the plays that some of these guys make. I think it's awesome, and some of the tweets I'm getting from other pro players is actually pretty funny, so I've been enjoying it.
It's been good. It definitely has. I'm excited to see maybe some more of those content videos from yourself. But moving the conversation a little forward now, Chance, the next game we have should be a pretty good one, or at least I hope so, at least.
I mean, so New York and Toronto, I think people are very, very high on New York as of recent, and for good reason. They look great against some really tough competition, but Toronto has the exact same thing going for them. The last time they played against, what, Florida, Dallas, and then Florida again. So only two guys that have been winning like the most recent tournaments, and they actually beat Florida in a Game 5, lost to Dallas in a Game 5, so they are also tooth and nail against the best competition in the CDL.
Definitely are. Now, obviously, moving the conversation forward, Nameless, I know you do a really good job with our game fuel keys to victory every single week. What are you looking at specifically? We'll start with New York.
Yeah, Attach and Temp need to continue their performance from last weekend. They both played absolutely outstanding. They put up some great statistics, and you could see with the addition of Mac Melts that added pressure. It really allowed those guys to be stars again. You know, we were questioning whether Temp was as good as he was last year, if Attach was ever going to return to that form. Well, that added pressure allowed them to do it. So continue that performance with Mac Melts, and they'll be fine.
And then taking a look at Toronto Ultra, their game fuel keys to victory. They've been an interesting squad, of course. Not necessarily had the best start to the league so far, Nameless, but what are you looking at specifically with Toronto?
It seems like any success that Toronto has, it's always going to like a Game 5. It's an extremely tough series, and I just think individually the players on the team need to step up. We need to see some bigger performances out of your players like Methods taking over games, and some of these other guys on this team to turn up. Like the overall KD on the team is below a 1. You need to start slaying a little bit more. The team slaying needs improvement, and they need to start taking down some respawns, Ben. Definitely
do. Can agree more. Chance, though, in terms of big picture here for this next upcoming series, where's your head at? Because I know we were both very impressed with what we saw from Max, specifically from the New York Subliners, but in terms of a prediction, which way do you go?
You know what? I'm going to be a dog in Toronto's corner because all of the chatter has been positive about New York. Last time we saw them play after another roster change, they only lost to the absolute best competition and they played it close. So I'm expecting to be a great series, even if everyone in the community thinks New York's going to walk all over.
All right, well, Nameless, thank you for joining us for the pre-game analysis of this series. Really appreciate it.
Good luck out there, Ben.
Appreciate that as well. It seems the game, of course, now underway. Toronto Ultra, New York Subliners. For me, the key player to watch has to be Mac. He impressed so much in his first kind of outing and showing here at the Call of Duty League, and I guess only more to come from him.
And I will say, like, speaking of Mac as well, is the biggest thing we saw is actually hard point improvement for the team as well. So, like, yes, he might have given him a slight bump across the really showed again. He dropped 45 on this map, Ben, right? Like, he would have breaking near records had it been on land sort of thing, and had Sid not gone crazy on his ZR cave, but this is where he needs to shine. This is where New York has had their most recent success.
It definitely is. As we have a quick glance over towards Toronto Ultra, all things considered, it's been a relatively balanced, even start that you would expect really to see on this map. It's all about just holding those spawns, and that's something that, as of this point, Toronto Ultra have done very, very well, locking that spawn for P2, whilst putting the pressure on P1 as well. It'll be a tied game about when we rotate over in about 9 seconds time.
And this is the perfect time to mention as well. So obviously Toronto hasn't had the best of years, in hardpoint especially, 6-12 in the game mode, which sounds atrocious, but then you look at this map specifically, 4-1. Okay. So, like, outside of this map, they're, what, 2-10 overall. They've been getting destroyed consistently. This map has been their saving grace, so I would have to imagine it is incredibly important, like a must-win map for them, because if New York take them down here on their best map, then that series might just start.
And just to quickly talk about the maps for the series, I know we didn't have a chance to look at the graphic before the series began, but is that maybe swaying your prediction? Do you know the map set? Does it maybe favor Toronto Ultra?
Well, it's kind of... Pool, so Arklov is the S. 2 weeks ago at the most recent home series, their S&D preparation was on point.
Right.
They had counter strats for the teams that were playing. They were very well researched, but you don't really have that information on Toronto Ultra, right? So it's going to be an interesting game number 2 once we get there.
Well, as things stand here in game number 1, it's a nice hot start for Methods from Toronto Ultra, 9-3, while soaking up a fair amount of goal time as well. He's just over past 20 seconds now. Already on board with Methods as well. Mac in front of him makes light work of him. Toronto Ultra could build themselves a lead here, Chess.
And again, looking good. You got Methods, what, 10-3, outstanding KD. When Toronto really started to creep up and show like some semblance of success, it with Methods throwing up like a 1.35 overall on hardpoint or something absurd. So his numbers have been great. It's about getting those wins. And again, this is the map made for Toronto apparently, and they have a nice lead so far.
Here's a quick look at our overhead map. You can see the way that New York Subliners have been able to break in, just holding that back spawn, and eventually throw enough New York buddies at the hill, they will break through. Now, it should be good to maybe get the final 10 seconds or so. It's not going to be tied, but it's going to be close. About a 2-3 point game as we rotate now over towards our new hill. And Metals is ready and waiting. Top crate for Toronto Ultra. He's going to have a big job to do, though. He's just found the first, can't find the second. Potentially from Classic, but is it a little too late? He pushes in Bathrooms. He's going to have to deal with 2. The trade comes through. Now back over to Methods. Zuma shuts him down, and the team support is there.
Those crates, so you don't have to take those passive gunfights. Mac tries to go on the flank. Classic makes the read. So Toronto, again, it might not be the most clean thing we've ever seen, but still a fair amount of success, doing a very nice job on crates.
Score 80-67 with about 24 seconds still to go on this hill. Of course, as things stand, it is New York with the advantage in terms of spawns to our final hill of our first rotation. So for Toronto, this scrap time actually pretty important, just keeping the pressure on if nothing else. But unfortunately for them, it looks like New York is going to claim that time. Last again, lucky in that spawn.
Might have just thrown up a little quad feed there, nice and brief. So you talk about someone that maybe needs to step it up. I know Attach and Temp were mentioned, but Zuma, there's been times where he can streak as well. And right now, 16 kills, leading the lobby. There's not much more you can ask from the man, but of course the rotation's already set in stone. New York are very comfortable with their setup, and you see how far Toronto is away. What, 15 seconds maybe before the potential break comes in.
Pretty tough break, but we'll see if are able to do it. New York, as you mentioned, Chance, now in the lead. Some 4 shots from Metals at the back. And Temp should be able to hold that spawn for now. Accuracy watching across the flank comes through. Pressure coming, of course, from that boiler side. Attach still looking to deflect that pressure and has done a good job so far. New York, a good hold.
Left on it. They're going to be posed up to get it. So you have a pretty back and forth game where Toronto's maybe had the edge the entire time. One bad hill like that, the full 60 comes out of the way, and now New York in a very comfortable spot. Good news, of course, though, for Toronto. Long term, they're obviously getting the spawns that they currently want. Bad thing is, though, New York, they got about a minute to make something happen. It looks like Zuma potentially might be able to make the play.
It's going to be him 0 on the mini-map. He's hit the flank instead. Didn't want to put pressure on the spawns. He's allowed his teammate on the other side of the map to do that. That's actually Mac putting a lot of pressure coming through the Cole side of it, and I don't think Cammy's going to spot him. And in actual fact, Mac won that gunfight. So Mac doing a massive job here for the New York Subliners.
Actually sort of turtled up for the spawns as well as, yeah, you got Temp going a little bit crazy. Him and Mac picking up the feed. But this is maybe the best P1 we have ever seen so far in the CDL. I think New York has gotten, what, almost all of this time. You should never be able to get a full 60 on this P1 hill. How many times do we see teams, maybe both teams combined, get 5 or 10 seconds? That's like the expectation. New York have done a phenomenal job just here on this hill, let alone getting the spawns. They've just been about.
It's almost like it so often becomes a bluff where you know the team with the unfavorable spawn sometimes won't go to the hill itself. They'll always fight through Cole's side, consistently putting pressure on that side of the map, whereas New York say, no, we're good. We'll pick up a ton of time here, give ourselves a massive lead, almost 100 points, 182-94 as the new hill pops. Toronto Ultra will be inside, but I mean, if New York can break quickly here, Chance, it looks like game 1 could almost be over.
Pretty much seal the fate of Toronto if they're able to get in and secure Zuma. He was able to pick up 2 along the way, but Toronto doing a fantastic job of stabilizing. Have a nice little headshot feed to pick up on it as well. So 30 seconds left, and that means New York, they got, what, 1 more push to try to get this break back.
Yeah, of course, they don't want to necessarily give Toronto Ultra a lifeline back into this series, so Knowing that, you may see a couple players rotate off spawn. Keep your eye on Toronto Ultra, though. 2 players actually spawning relatively close to the new hill. That's Classic and Metals essentially in a 2 versus 1. They're going to have to try and deal with Mac, who's the only New York player that's rotated. He'll find the first, but he has to know there's more.
And yes, he does, but either way, you talk about how fantastic of the, past 3 hills New York has really had for themselves. They got the 70-point lead, and I'm going to harp on it. The P1 they just had, again, completely fantastic. Now they're in the same position. You get one good break on a hill, you pretty much seal the fate of the game. So far, though, Toronto able to hold on.
Surprised to see them push P2 as late as they did. They could have rotated with Mac. A few players spawned within a few seconds of him. They could have made this rotation a little easier on themselves. Instead, it's Toronto Ultra inside the hill. 30 seconds left, but as we saw in our first rotation, New York spawning at the back. Those sort of bodies at the hill. Eventually, you expect to see them break through.
You get that back spawn, you look at the feed, they're picking up all the kills as well. The smoke is going to let them get into the hill. Temp, a free and easy kill for him. And again, it's one of those situations where Toronto, they're doing a fantastic job, but because of the lead that the Subliners have already built for themselves, they go into, 30 points after this hill, and the game will be theirs. Toronto, they have their work absolutely cut out for them, and I got to harp on it. This was the best case scenario in terms of a map set for Toronto to get for the map number 1. It is a must-win map for them.
And they clutch up when they need to. Toronto Ultra down 213 to 165. Classic for the big game, 29 and 25, almost a minute hill time. He needs to find a different gear here as Mac from the New York Subliners looks to try and break inside. He's been unsuccessful. Accuracy, of course, wanting to play this slow. New York won't want to give up the spawn, but at the same time, it's a delicate balance chance. You don't want to give away too much time either.
Slaying power for Toronto. They got to kick it up a notch, and again, so far so good. Very nice hold here on crates. They have been clawing their way back into this game. They've had a fair bit of success, and you can see New York maybe film that pressure just a little bit, right? Not flooding up towards crates anymore. It looks like they're going to potentially chalk up these final 20 seconds and just try to make sure they secure the rotation, but job done for Toronto, right? They were down by 100 points at one point. They have made the comeback to a near-tie game.
Bance was going to get absolutely blessed there, but you can see the pressure. Toronto with a favorable spawn now towards the end. Methods, he's been having a fantastic game so far. He rotated a little early, probably had an influence there to the spawn as Metals at the back locks it in. Toronto Ultra could have the advantage if he can win maybe one more gunfight. Unsuccessful though. It's Mac doing the dirty work at the back with Temp. Both of those clutching up for New York, and with 45 seconds left and Toronto Ultra spawning out, New York just need 30 more points. This should be GG.
And all the pressure right now coming in through trackside. He got some smokes to make it a little bit messy and classic. He's going to have to be that front man looking for kills. He's able to pick up 2, trying to get inside, and you can see his teammates are there with him. The trades are in. Toronto on the break, still up the classic inside the hill, and he can't find it just yet. And Temp with the pistol in the back pocket takes him down.
Temp just buying time for his teammates to come up spawn. 236, 214. New York are in. They can close it out here, and because of that, you see the buddies in the hill push straight out, fly straight out. Toronto have to touch it. Is anyone even going to get there in time? I think the answer is no, with Attach picking up the double just to seal the deal. New York Subliners take game 1, 250 to 214.
And I genuinely feel like I could almost write an essay breaking down all of the pre-analysis to talk about what just happened. First of all, massive plays towards the end. That final hill, I think Attach was the lone man surrounded by 4 Toronto players. He's able to pick up 2, and then he did enough for his teammates to come in, clear out the rest of them. So big plays on that end. You also had the P1 in the middle of the game, the second set of rotations that New York just obliterated Toronto on, right? They had maybe a 30, 40-point lead going into it, and on a hill that, again, normally both teams combined maybe get 10 or 15 seconds if they're lucky. Only the one team in New York Subliners got, I think, maybe 40 on it. So a couple fantastic kills. The slaying power is on point. We talked about Mac Melts being a massive help for the Subliners in the hard point. Huge. We saw it right there again. The main Slayer coming out on top, making the big plays, and New York just looked like a better team. The slaying power from Toronto, just non-existent.
Yeah, absolutely incredible performance from Mac towards the end. He was about even with some of his teammates for about half the game, and then all of a sudden, to close things out, just shifts into a different gear, I guess. 38 and 28. He finishes over a minute hill time for him. Classic not too far off from Toronto Ultra with 36 kills and 28 deaths, but Overall, it was New York Subliners that dominated. We'll take a look at our Scuff Gaming Player of the Game, and, well, you guessed it, comes from Mac as well. Chance, we haven't really stressed enough how much we feel he's improved this New York team. Obviously, the first outing we see, it's pretty tough to get a good judge because of just the competition New York unfortunately had to play. Whereas here, it seems like you're seeing a big impact on the team.
Absolutely. And again, even across the board, even against the great competition that they played just 2 weeks ago, Hardpoint was absolutely where he really kicked that up a notch. Like, I was just doing a direct one-to-one comparison of his stats versus Slasher, and there's a bump pretty much across the board. It's a little bit in the Search and Destroy, a little bit in the Dom, but Hardpoint is really where New York seems to have made those improvements. So we'll see long-term if New York is maybe even up their game with Mac Melts in the Dom, now that they're playing maybe competition that isn't quite as good, because they have a 1-9 record overall in domination, which is not ideal. And funnily enough, I think they won like their first domination one they played against FaZe. It's like the first or second. It was the Minnesota Weekend. And against FaZe, of all teams. Like, I have no explanation for it, but obviously it needs some
there's
work.
A quick glance at our quick scope presented by the U.S. Air Force. As things stand, overall between the two teams, it's very even. 20 CDL points each. Their match record and game record very similar as well. Both teams looking to shift into a new gear this weekend. Really try and climb that leaderboard, essential for both two teams. And I think if kind of many people had to predict, I know you kind of were a little more maybe optimistic based off the map set, but I think many people in the community and just many analysts would say, yep, New York with the addition of Mac and just maybe feeling good, maybe a honeymoon phase coming through as well, they should be good to take the series.
Should be good to go, and confidence is, of course, king. We've heard quite a few players talk about the importance of confidence over the years. I know on Nameless's podcast, GodRX was very on point with, like, when you have that feeling, when you know you can go into a series and you're just going to fry, it makes everything that much easier. And you think about the story between these two teams, it's Toronto, who have not a ton of a reason to be confident. No one's expecting them to do too well. I think they were like 0 for 3 in their round 11s. Like, even like as close as they've been, right? They only lose by 30-40 points when they were down by 100. Like, the storyline could have been, what a fantastic comeback by Toronto, but they're not quite there. Right. And if you're never quite there, you never have the confidence behind you. And New York, of course, well, they have the young Fryman on their team now, so a little bit happier of a camp.
That little bit of doubt seeps in by the players, and without a question, the Toronto Ultra fans, so many times this season you've seen their team in situations just like that, on the verge of making a great comeback and unfortunately falling short. But game 2, Search and Destroy, underway. It's going to be New York on attack first here. I believe Attach will probably be the player to watch. And try and find a first blood sniper out. Well, in actual fact, it's going to be Zuma. Pushes up towards Statue. There's the first, almost finessed his way towards a second. That kill untraded. Classic has stayed alive. Mac was trying to peek. And I think Classic should be good just to back away. So early doors, quick trade, 4v4.
You do have accuracy working arguably the slowest flank of all time. And yeah, it takes a little bit too long, and Metal's eventually just able to sniff him out. So man advantage goes the way of Toronto. This would be a great time to mention the tail of the tape. Again, Toronto, we haven't seen them on this map. And you got New York Subliners, 0 for 2. So they haven't quite figured out the formula of what they want to do on Arklov.
Now back over towards Attach's POV. Sniper up top. Looking down at his teammates. Hasn't spotted much just yet. For New York, it looks like B is going to be the site of choice. They still do have 30 seconds, though. If they want, maybe push through the back, flank over towards Methods, and I think Methods may have just got a little bit of insight. Unfortunately, wasn't transferred as Temp flies in towards the B site. He gets himself a double. That was a wall bang from Methods. So unfortunately for Temp, nothing he could do about that. Mac has planted the bomb. Cammy looks to try and get the kill. Unfortunately, unsuccessful so far. Now the challenge comes through. Mac says, thank you very much. That's about as free as kill as he's ever going to get. And it's left to Methods to produce a moment of magic for the Toronto Ultra. Tags up Attach. That would have been absolutely disgusting. Unfortunately for him, he's left with a choice. Does he just close the door and go for the defuse? Trust Attach to potentially miss the shot. Well, he's on the bomb.
You can wallbang that Attach. You can do it.
Nade out. Has to open the door, but bomb is defused. Chats, you're absolutely right. You can wallbang it, but unfortunately, Attach not going to be able to do so. Toronto Ultra, after a crazy end to round number 1, take it in the end.
I've never wanted Attach to get a wallbang kill more in my life. Like, I don't know, like, again, I don't know what the delay is. I don't know when it came into, like, effect. I don't know how smooth it came across, but, like, that was the moment. His only play is to get the wallbang kill, and you can, in fact, shoot through that door. And he doesn't do it. So even with the flank from Temp, getting up 2 kills and opening up the round, Toronto pick him apart.
The redemption from one of his most famous clips back in his youth. I can call it he ghost, but Either way, it's Toronto Ultra that take round number 1. A very close round 1 as well. Classic bomb there for Toronto Ultra. Looks to potentially maybe just try and get it down, but for now, baiting out a couple of tacticals. Attach won't have much vision. He'll spot Metal slide across, and well, you might not want to peek that again, my friend.
He does. It needs to be just for a brief moment. Attach, well, maybe feeling the pressure of a hop-up, just dancing with the devil. Metal so close to meeting his maker. And, of course, on the other side of the map, by the way, Cammy just going to get that first blood, the flank of Zol.
Metal's almost found himself another. Cammy's hit the flank, and that's going to be an easy one. Should maybe find the second. Attach still up top window. Cammy's read it like a book. Fantastic read. That's going to be a free kill. Toronto Ultra 2-0 up.
And beautiful stuff. Realistically, that round just comes down to the one-on-one gunfight Cammy had mid-map, right? If he dies, then that means the flank for Toronto Ultra is going to be open, and they have to be paranoid about that. He wins that gunfight, so the tables have turned. Now it's New York that are saying, well, we have to worry about the flank, we got to worry about all the guns right up front, and we have to try to break through and go get the defuse. So Subliners just in a very tough spot. Again, it comes down to the Arklov peak again. If Subliners 0-2 on the map, still struggling to find success.
Yeah, slow start so far. I mean, you can definitely look at the first round as maybe a little unfortunate, but overall it was well played from Methods. I think you have to give the man the credit he deserves. Forced Attach's hand, and unfortunately for Attach, still did not come his way. Round 3 underway, and Zuma looking to push forward. The Italian Stallion trying to be aggressive, and as he slows things down, Methods may get the read here, and he may get fantastic timing. Zuma slow peeks. Zuma finds the kill.
Nice way to take the gunfight. A lot of times you see the ego child, you go fly out around, but Zuma nice and passive. The sniper, though, on the return. Cammy has been turning up for the squad. He can't find the third, but you got to imagine his job is done.
You think so? That's classic watching the push. Which it is classic in Metals. Currently in a 2 versus 3. Attach, Mac and Temp up. Temp will shut down Classic. What should surely now be the first round for the New York Subliners as Metal slides out, finds the first, now a 1v2. Definitely doable with 25 seconds. Bomb being planted by Mac. Metals needs to try and push through. Question is, did Temp spot him? I don't think he did. Unfortunately, though, for Metals, doesn't find a kill quick enough. Tagged up. Surely no way he wins the round.
I was going to say, his game plan is rip someone off a head glitch, get lucky with a gunfight, and then rip the second player off a head glitch. It is just all about the challenge. You're going to have to do it as quick as possible, and it's simply an impossible situation where Mac Melts gave him nothing to work with. So we get the Subliners on board in a, I won't say comfortable round, because Cammy made it interesting, but they got the job done.
There, of course, a quick glance. That final kill coming through. 2-1. New York with their first round win under their belt. Still advantage Toronto Ultra, though. I think you really have to put a lot of emphasis now on this game, too. I know, Chance, you put a lot of emphasis on the game 1, but if there's going to be any chance here for Toronto Ultra in this series, I mean, you don't feel confident in them completing a reverse sweep.
I don't feel very confident in them now, let alone for the reverse sweep. But absolutely right. Again, you definitely don't want to fall deeper into the series. So we'll see if they can put something together on offense. Right now, the Zuma flank special potentially on the way. It'll be a long time before it develops because, of course, this bomb maybe shortly going to be planted on A while Metal just surges forward but can't get the first blood. Mac, you can't kill him online.
Looks so good. There's a great nade, though. If you can't kill with your gun, nade will get a job done, that's for sure. Zooming out from behind, there's Bance, and didn't actually spot the player over towards his left-hand side. It's Methods that's just somehow managed to stay alive, and Temp will pay the price. Zoomer also falls. This now a 2v2.
Now, of course, you got the Cammy flank from mid-map again, and he's just going to even it out, even if it's Classic that's actually getting the job done. Attached, last alive. It does not last, and that is a round that the Subliners, I think, should have 9 times out of 10. You got Zuma going on the flank. Yes, it sucks that he doesn't spot the player that's laying down in the trench, but he also doesn't need to rush and take the gunfight on Classic on bomb, right? He knows Classic is staring at him. You get the free kill. Now everyone on Toronto has to focus again on the flank and on the front line, and it's too much chaos to deal with unless you challenge instantly, get killed, and now the pressure gets absolved. So I just think that's a misplay of a round coming in from the Subliners.
Accuracy still 0-4. Attach 0-3 as well. We saw the sniper rifle out earlier for Attach. Curious to see if he still has it out, as Zuma going to be very aggressive over towards Statue, as we saw round 1. No one home. Push straight through could be the game plan. And keep your eyes out on attached. That's going to be number 6 on your mini-map. Assuming just based off where his player is, he does have a sniper rifle out. And yep, there, that confirms it. First blood as well for New York. Actually shuts down Classic. The same strat, which unfortunately didn't work round 1, is going to be reattempted here. Metals is tagged up. Surely will fall. And now Toronto Ultra left in a 3v5. Mac planting the bomb should be good. Zuma watching for assistance. 2 more kills come through. Cammy left up by himself. Mac shuts him down. Round 1 from New York.
And there was going to be a moment in this game, Ben, where I thought my casting was going to be robotic, where I'd have just been saying the same things every single round, but the Subliners, instead of letting that happen, have a nice job on the bounce back, and you really see the strategy that they're trying to go with when they go over towards this site, right? Accuracy by himself, the island man. Take your time working on that flank and get control of that rock side area, and then get the kills. The round where he got picked up, they did not have success with. The round where he gets that first blood, New York take it away.
Toronto Ultra still with the advantage. Brian Bance as well, number 5, currently 1 and 4. Slow start from him. But still, it is attached. The only player now currently on that donut. Number 6 on the minimap. But we're on board with Bance to start. And for him, it looks like it's going to be a quick push through. Has teammates in support. The A site, the target here for Toronto Ultras. Methods left watching the flank. Doesn't look like he's going to have much to worry about just yet. On the other side of the map is Cam. For Toronto Ultra watching the full wrap, but for now at least it doesn't look like that's going to come into play as Mac has somehow been able to push and check bomb. How there was no eyes on him there, not too sure. Either way, 3v3.
Yeah, it was either a miscommunication or just a mistimed smoke, because Classic has actually been going big when he gets to that bomb site, but his teammates let him down just a little bit. 3 versus 3 though, little bit of time on the clock, and again that flank is coming in again. Cammy, the playmaker potentially for the Ultra.
I'm ticking. 27 seconds left in the round. Cammy is so sneaky. He's going to have to find the kill quickly. There's Temp. It's a good read. Zuma's fallen. Now he knows exactly where Attach is. 14 seconds left. It's a 2v1. Attach drops out the window. There's the kill. Toronto Ultra with a 2-round cushion. They go up 4-2.
And Cammy has just had the number of the Subliners, and I think Temp especially, just round after round. I think that's the 3rd time where we've seen some sort of gunfight effectively deciding on who gets the flank, or at least is the player getting cleaned up who was supposed to watch the flank in Temp. And Cammy again comes out on top, again is the playmaker for the Toronto Ultra, and has just been opening up these rounds for the squad. So I'll give it to Cammy. We'll see if he can continue the destruction.
It's been a good performance so far. 7-3. After 6 rounds, as we now head into round 7. Mac as well putting up good numbers for New York at 7-4, but they do trail by 2 rounds here. As you can see, this could be a fast and furious round. Both teams collapsing in at the A site. There's the first blood from Zuma. Metals will fall. Cammy hits the snipe. Zuma with another 2. This could be an ace for him if he can keep up at that pace. Classic shuts down accuracy. And as you can see, Bance watching to see if Temp, maybe Zuma push back. For now at least, that doesn't look like the play. For New York, they're going to push through. Classic with the freest of flanks on towards Attach. So now 2v2. Again, Zuma working on a theoretical ace. Unfortunately for him, that should not be the case. But Bance says he missed the shot. Zuma still alive, and he tags up Bance. Bance left running for his life. Zuma hunts him down. Now a 2 versus 1. It's all down to Classic. And Zuma, again, working towards an ace. For New York, though, I'm sure they'll just pick up this kill by any means. But if Zuma was to get it, what a round out of him.
And Classic just now figured out where that bomb is planted. It is worst case scenario for him, but he does have a smoke, and that's interesting. He can maybe just win one gunfight here. He takes down Temp. The question is, do you pop it?
Zuma throws out the nade, so now he knows. What does he know? Oh, the final gunfight in the 1v1. It undoes all of his hard work. The defuse from Classic. Toronto Ultra 5-2 up now. And boy, oh boy, was that close. I think Zuma threw the nade. It got the hit marker in his mind. He's thinking, well, that nade was on site, right? He has to be weak. I have to challenge. But I think Zuma was probably thinking Classic was mid-defuse. Thus, the challenge as quick as he did. An unfortunate read from him. No ace, no round win for New York. A great play from Classic, though. The use of that smoke chance was brilliant.
I mean, again, that round was hopeless until he gets the smoke on the ground, and then it's all about you have to win that first gunfight as quick as possible. If Temp had stayed alive for an extra, like, 3 seconds even, maybe just, like, 2 sort of thing, then it would have been, like, secure for Subliners. Zuma wouldn't have to wild and challenge out just because the smoke would have cleared, but he did it fast enough, and now you talk about fast. Over towards this B site, Toronto pouring on the pressure, and Cammy's going to get that first blood.
Nicely done, Toronto Ultra. Looking to close this out here, not give New York any chance at all of coming back into this. His method is red Zuma's flank. And is he going to flank the flank? That could be the play. Metals will have work here. As Mac turns out the concussion. Attach is also going to join him, but Cammy's found accuracy elsewhere. So New York in a horrible spot. Attach slides out. Mac is there for the trade. So they find 2 kills. Now all of a sudden, though, round over. Toronto Ultra find the kills. They take map 2, 6 rounds to 2.
And just straight up picked apart as well, right? That was like the analysis coming in, at least the search and destroy, was we haven't seen Toronto play on this map. That means all the great game planning the Subliners have done doesn't really impact it here. I don't even think that played into it at all. I think that was purely just playmaker after playmaker, Toronto just picking them apart. Like, realistically, again, Cammy mid-map and Temp. If Temp had just found like 1 or 2 more kills at key times, this might be a round 11 kind of game, but Cammy had his number, and Classic especially in that second to last round had his number. So playmakers on Toronto turning up, and that is exactly what they need.
Yeah, I think you really have to highlight once again that round from Classic. 1v2 looked almost hopeless. Throws the smoke, baits out Temp. A free 1v1, and unfortunately for Zuma, misreads the situation. Classic takes full advantage of that. And that really the story of Game 2, Search and Destroy. We mentioned how important it was for Toronto to start off strong in the series. They were unable to do so with New York taking Game 1, but they bounced back in Game 2. A convincing win from Toronto to tie things up and, to be honest, chance to make the rest of the series pretty spicy.
And you know, as high as all the other teams and players throughout the league have been on this New York team of saying like, hey, they might actually be able to win this tournament. They've improved that much. We're now going into a domination where they have a record as a team of 1-9. They just got picked apart in the search and destroy. So let's just say we go to a game number 5. Like, all the scrims, you only play the respawns, right? We don't get to really look at the Subliners and S&D to get a really good evaluation. So I think we might have a good series on our hands.
Potentially. Of course, the last series before ours was a fantastic one. It'd be nice to follow that up with a Game 5 as well, but we wait and see. As things stand, our series currently tied at 1 map apiece. New York with a good Game 1, but a great response, of course, from Toronto Ultra in the Game 2 Search and Destroy. For now, we're going to do a quick commercial break. When we return, though, we'll be back with domination action.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by Metro by T-Mobile. Stay connected to what matters most with the best value in wireless. Scuff Gaming, the official controller of the Call of Duty League.
When I was looking at this hot take, I looked at it and thought, for me, it's an easy 2 coming out of this. It's Minnesota and Florida. It's unfortunate they play each other straight away in round 1. But again, I think having the fact that New York, this New York roster have already played, they kind of know what to expect. I think they've got footage already on this and they'll be able to adapt well. And I think these 2 teams are a little bit ahead of New York and Toronto right now.
You know what's tough about that point, Phil, is that here's the thing. All the pro players right now are saying that New York is astonishing teams in scrim, like they're just amazing. They're dominating their scrims, and New York is this super improved roster. So if they are, and whatever team between Florida and Minnesota wins round 1, loses to New York, then they'll have to face off again in the losers bracket. So both of them probably won't make it through if that's the route that, you know, this group goes, which is possible, man. New York did look a lot better at the last tournament, and apparently the way they play just flusters a ton of teams. So I could definitely see New York coming out alongside either Florida or Minnesota, but in this one, I think Florida is the one that falls.
And of course, a quick glance at Contesting the Point, presented by Astro Gaming. You'll see all of the Call of Duty talent on the show, kind of contesting some hot topics, if you will. Chance, I know you've been on the show. Did you win your episode, Chance, or no?
I lost my first 2 against
I've never
Nameless,
been
and
more
I'm pretty
disappointed.
Yeah, no, we've had some talks about maybe scoring systems for how Contesting the Point works. There's been adjustments made. Let's just say that, and I won the most recent 2 episodes.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure, at least. I'm pretty sure.
Proud of you. Very proud of you. Of course, back to business, though. In terms of our series, we have a good one on our hands. Toronto Ultra, New York Subliners tied up 1-1. I want to take a look at one of the fantastic play of the games, really, from game 2. It came from Classic. Of course, the tactical play presented by the U.S. Army. A fantastic 1v2 where, in reality, Chance, there should have been no hope.
So no hope until he throws that smoke, right? The round is completely cooked, but as soon as he has the cover, I think there is maybe, 22, 23 seconds on the clock, something like that. So all what that means is he has to find a kill very early into the smoke getting popped. That way, as soon as he kills Temp, it forces Zuma out, because then Zuma has to go and check the bomb. But literally, if that first guy stays alive for an extra, 2 seconds, let's say, then Zuma doesn't have to make that commitment, doesn't have to jump out. So Classic literally had a 1 in a million sort of play that he can make, and I was going to say a bad word. He nailed it, Ben. I stopped myself. I'm at home. I'm a bit more relaxed, all right? We get a little bit comfortable with the Classic, Great job, bro.
Yeah, it was an interesting situation, that's for sure. And actually, in hindsight, kind of watching that back, Zuma probably didn't have to jump out the window. The smoke, of course, had been down for a little bit of time and looked as if it was dissipating. But either way, fortunately for him in New York, they were not able to make the play. Classic definitely was a great play from him as we get ready for game 3. And Chance, during that break, you actually brought up an interesting point about the perception of New York and improvements. But one of the big problems, I think, is the fact that a lot of teams, of course, don't scrim, search, and destroy. So the actual perceived perception of New York might not actually be that much better than they are.
Right, and again, we said right at the top, Mac Melt has clearly made hardpoint improvements for this team, and that's what all the teams are going to scrim. You scrim all the respawns, hardpoints especially, you get some doms in, but not as much usually. That's the standard. So all the teams that are talking about how great New York is, we've seen the improvements in 1 game mode, but obviously in the search and destroy, they've looked better, their strats have been a little bit better, there's improvement, but they're still not winning, whether it be against Toronto or Chicago or Atlanta or whoever they've played, and I've still not seen it. And then we go into the Dom, where their team record is 1-9, where maybe they looked better, but they were still losing. So by no means is this over. Clearly, we've already seen if we go to a game number 5, you're going to be feeling good about if you're a Toronto Ultra fan, or maybe draws. You're fine with whatever.
We've already had a draw this year. We actually had 2 overall. We've had 1, but of course this game will be restarted. And I believe you made an interesting point earlier on about just their overall record, right? It's really, really poor in New York. In domination, I should say, New York-wise here. But the one win they had against Atlanta FaZe, and if I'm not mistaken, it was on this map, was it not?
It was on Hackney Yard, yes.
It was.
And they also had like a heartbreaking like loss to Chicago again 2 weeks ago. So I'm not saying they haven't made improvements in Dom.
Sure.
I'm not saying all the pros that are talking about how much improved New York has been is incorrect. I'm just saying there is that S&D kind of like blank spot where we don't really know. We've seen improvements, yes, but we don't know how far it's actually gone for New York. And think about like the dark spots we have for Toronto. It's been a couple weeks, like even longer since we've seen them play. And again, they played against Florida, who won the tournament, and they actually beat Florida in game number 5 before Florida eventually came out of like the loser side of the bracket and then beat them 3-1. And they also went to game 5 against the Empire, right? So both teams have the exact same storyline. If they've been going the distance, they have played the top competition very, very well. So in my mind, from the start of the show, it did seem a little bit absurd to me to just count Toronto out, right? Like that seemed ridiculous of all the teams that are like, no, New York's going to blow past them, no question. To me, that seemed extreme. However, if the respawn really has been that good and New York destroy them in this domination and then destroy them in the next hard point, then that'll be the answer, right? That'll tell us what we need.
And again, the reason that's such an important point, or the beginning was, of course, is search and destroy is 40% of the game modes here in the Call of Duty League. So
essentially,
for us, it's really about finding out just how good and just how much better they have got in respawn. And I guess improvements, it really starts here in domination, because that's where their record is so poor. You can definitely make the argument, as you so boldly did, Chance, that they've shown improvements in this game mode. But at the end of the day, wins are what we're looking for, and what New York is looking for is game 3 underway. We'll kick things off on board with medals. Ultra fast hit B flag, and Ollie almost got it captured.
Almost got it captured, but of course needs to play for the kills, and people just sneaking by through the smokes like there's just no issue on the map at all. But Metal still doing a nice enough job to find the kills and try to placate over towards the B point. He is surrounded though, so I don't know what the timing is going to work out for, but Toronto, clearly, they got a lot of things going on because they're trying to secure the A flag as well.
They are, and Temp is going for a little bit of a cheeky flank here. Toronto should know, really, based off where they're spawning. Temp's done a good job of just blocking that back spawn, and for now he's relying heavily on his teammates to win the fights in B, which have been unsuccessful. Battles, I think he may have just sniffed something out. Unfortunately for him, tagged up one shot, tries to back away. Temp, well, doesn't get much freer than that.
And this is like this is the Hackney we started this on, like, maybe 7 or 8 players in a row for Toronto have spawned right next to the C flag, but they refuse to go cap it because obviously they're eventually, well, I was going to say eventually lose the A flag. There you go. Attached it to the cleanup. A lot of teams at the start of the year didn't ever want to neutralize the C flag or try to cap it when they get that spawn. From what I've seen, that's changed quite a bit of, hey, if we get the spawn, we might as well commit. We'll send the first 3 guys to B to defend that, but at least let one guy kind of get you those scrap points. Toronto doesn't go with that logic, and now they're just fighting tooth and nail over to A, which is great news for them. They're able to secure it and able to stabilize, but just a theme maybe of the map to pay attention to once you start spawning out at C.
Looking pretty good. Temp, of course, still over towards B. He's going to need a little bit of team support, really, before he can try and hop on the flag, and unfortunately for him, he will fall. It was Vance that pushed in for Toronto. As things stand, it's Toronto with A and a B locked in. They have a 10-point lead, and plenty of time still to go in this half.
Plenty of time still to go, and again, New York, this has been the one map where they've seen any success, right? They're 1-9 in domination as a whole. They got the win on this map, and again, they showed improvements. They had the heartbreaking game against Chicago just 2 weeks ago, so looking for them to bounce back, and so far so good on the bounce back. Secured that B point, of course, not a ton of pressure over towards this A flag just yet, but hey, Mac Melts is alive. You expect maybe a couple kills to go his way, but eventually does get dealt with.
Unfortunately, not even Mac in 1v3 inside the B flag, and B will be recapped by Toronto. Again, plenty of time left here in our first half. 2 minutes 20 still to go, and the lead starting to grow here for Toronto Ultra. We'll wait and see if New York, of course, can come back into this. 2 minutes still to go, so the perfect time to send it now to the New York Subliners after Listen.
Good job. Come out. One more Cammy. Cammy's up there. Hands up.
Jumping in trophy time, we have to get kills, okay?
They draw medals. We're doing good. We're doing good.
Nice, come on, I'm gonna hit left. I flashed out.
I'm looking L cross, guys. One more. I have L cross. Let's go, baby.
I'm coming.
L cross.
You cap.
Get on me. One more cross in L, guys. Low.
They're gonna be B, guys.
Low L,
Nothing right.
low L and green crate.
Low L.
Low L dead. Top
no,
L,
low
low
L.
L. Top L, low L. Pick it up.
I got one.
Low L.
I'll pick it up.
No,
Let's
no, no, no.
Let's
Let's
go.
meadows, one shot. Low L. I spawned mid crate. You have Low L, one shot. I'm hitting top L.
He's weak. He's weak again. Weak again. Close corner.
I spawned right. I spawned right. Top L, top L. Top L.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm about to curve off the square. Don't pick it up.
Okay.
I'm feeling B. Two
Trophy dead.
look at my top. I'm looking low. Look at my top. On the green crate.
Look at top. I did a top.
I'm hitting out right, guys.
I'm going top PC.
Look mid and right.
I'm red crate.
I'm hitting right, guys. I'm looking top. Pick it up.
Alright, I'm looking
mid.
both.
I'm looking mid. Just hold this, guys. Hold this. This is a good backside. He's mid crates. Mid crates.
I'm laying down. I'm coming red crate.
Make him jump out. Make him jump out.
Shit, I'm bad.
Make sure you're holding right. Make sure you're holding right. Green crate, guys. One top out.
On the barrel. Freddy barrel.
Credit barrel. Graffiti wall, the mid green dead. Nice, good shit.
On the barrel. He's on the barrel.
One spawn back with van.
What's that?
One fork or something. I think he got one fork. Okay, one shot blue van. Back. I'm in square top.
He did. What's the yellow, I think? What's the yellow?
I'm coming top. I'm coming back, bro. Top yellow.
Yeah,
One shot, Cammy. I'm playing top. I don't see him. One step. Top dead. Good job.
Nice, good job, guys.
And I will say, obviously, the best Astro Gaming listening I have ever heard in my entire life, Ben. Without a doubt, the comms absolutely on point. And for those of you who do not know my personality, I am being sarcastic just because I couldn't hear it. It might have been good comms. I have no idea. Just personally couldn't hear it, but it's all good, right? Attach said, hey guys, we need to hold his bad side. It's whatever. You got a 9-point lead. You're happy with that if you're the Subliners. Now it's about not completely collapsing like they did in a few of those circles.
Staying composed and closing out game 3, especially with just how good they've looked in hardpoint. You definitely would favor them potentially close this out 3-1 if they win here in game 3. But second half have to get underway. Here's a quick glance at methods from Toronto Røkkr as he looks over to see if anyone's going to try and fast push up the stairs. That's not going to be the case. He falls, catch with a very, very fast pick.
Very fast pick as well, and it means you alleviate some of the pressure because, again, the Subliners right now, their job is twofold. Make sure no one sneaks through and gets the A flag, and 2, just capture the damn B flag. Of course, the second part, not the easiest thing to do in the world. It's actually classic on the point right now, and really it's just up to Mac. He is the only man that's nearby to potentially stop this flag cap from coming in, and, well, it looks like Classic might just feel the pressure so he doesn't commit to grabbing the flag anyway.
The pinch that's coming in over towards B. There's 3 Toronto players trying to make the play. I think that 4 is Vance decides to join the party, but you have to fight through. Mac, who found himself a double kill. Eventually he will fall. Unfortunately for New York, teammates not able to get to B quick enough. So we'll hold the A flag for now. You expect Toronto to push through B and trying to apply some pressure over towards A. Meanwhile, Zuma's actually gone for the flank over towards C. Is this just now going to become about holding that lead, neutralizing and back away, or actually maybe stay and cap?
And this is an interesting thing, right? We talked about Toronto were spawning out at C when they had the AB cap all the time. Zuma doesn't even get the spawn out. Yeah. He wanted that from the get-go, so he's actually going to pull that off. He's got 2 teammates that need to secure the A flag. Temp's going to get shut down, but the trade should be there from Attach, so it might end up working out. Just hold the AC flag for a bit.
You're relying heavily on winning the gunfight over towards A, which credit to Attach. He's been able to do that. Now Zuma is actually putting pressure over towards B as Toronto spawned completely out. What many would have looked at and said, well, that seems like a bit of a crazy play, maybe a bit of a pointless play, works out perfectly for New York. And I do want to go back in time, of course. You go back to launch weekend. I believe it was this map against FaZe. Zuma had a phenomenal performance where he was just playing ring around the rosy. Just his understanding of domination seemed to be very high, and that's an example of a play working out fantastic for New York Subliners. But they now have to hold B. It's all good and well setting up the position. You have to hold the flag, though. Of course, the most important part of Game 3.
Yeah, it's such an interesting decision. It does work out in the short term, but obviously you can see the eventual end result, right? Toronto end up stabilizing and getting the AB flag cap, and that's what Toronto has wanted from the get-go. So it's definitely an interesting decision from Zuma. I would have to imagine that's something the team has definitely worked on. It paid short-term dividends, but obviously it's a long-term game, and right now that 17-point lead that the Subliners have is going to slowly be cut down.
You can see New York keeping the pressure coming over towards the B flag. Classic at the top, ready and waiting, buying time. There's the push from Cammy. Cammy will drop. Is that the opening New York need to score? 124 to 111. 2 minutes still to go in this game. Temp, unfortunately, just gets a little finessed mid-map by Benz. The trade came through very quickly. New York have capped up B. They hold the 2-1 flag advantage.
Yeah, Toronto, though, potentially very quick on the retake. Accuracy is up top, but he is the lone man for a moment. His teammates, of course, in the corridors just behind him, but Accuracy gets nothing done, just gets killed immediately. The neutralization has come into effect on the B flag, and again, pressure's on Toronto here, right? Minute 45 left, you're still down by a fair bit of points. They need the 2 flag
They definitely do, and honestly, they might be thinking about pushing, neutralizing C, and try to make the comeback that way. I believe mathematically they wouldn't need to do it, but definitely nice to have the added reassurance, if you will, as well. This could be the play right here from Bance as he pushes in towards C. There's going to be a couple of New York players right around. Unfortunately, he will fall. New York hold on to their home flag for now, but this is going to get dangerously, dangerously close.
And I do like little plays like that from Bance, right? You bring 2 subliner players back. That means it takes them longer to get to B, but now the subliners have set up. They've been able to get a couple kills. They're over towards the B flag, and Bance off respawn can't find a thing. It is a 6-point game with a minute left. Subliners, I think if they hold this for, what, maybe 15, 20 seconds, they get the game, and accuracy's over.
Well, Cammy actually made the play over towards C. He actually stayed there, capped it. So as things stand, Toronto Ultra will take the lead. Accuracy has no idea where Cammy is. Finally, he will fall. Now the pressure really coming over towards B. It's Attach who has to try and make the play. Toronto Ultra funneling in. There is one, almost found 2. Cammy off respawn is able to find that pick. 147, 143. B is going to be neutral. If you're New York, you have to decap this hill as fast as possible. No one is really in a position to make a play over towards A. B has to be the focus. You've got to win the gunfight first, then you have to retake control of the flag.
10 players, 1 flag, trying to throw it down. The kill feed pretty much back and forth across the board. The smoke's out. Temp can't find anything. The subliners trying to fly through, and now it's up to 1 lone man. You got to get to the flag immediately for the subliners, or they are going to fall. And with this amount of time left on the clock, it simply cannot be done. Toronto have clawed their way back into the Hackney Yard for another nail-biter finish, Ben, and they get the 2-point win in the end. And the subliners fall to now 1 in 10. In domination.
That is so tough. I'm sure they're going to have flashbacks back, of course, to the Huntsman series. A very, very close, well-fought game of Dom, but at the end, just not able to get the job done. Fantastic stuff from Toronto Ultra to hold the flag setup as they did and to put themselves into that position. Again, I have to give a ton of credit to Cammy. He was the one who actually initially made the play over towards C. Whilst all eyes were on B, he made the play for his team. And really, because of that, Toronto Ultra will win Game 3 and they will go up 2-1 in the series, Chance.
And I was going to say, I didn't even realize that play was happening, right? I'm trying to do the math of like, all right, 45 seconds left, how much do they need? And I thought the entire thing was going down on B, and as soon as he called out Cammy, I was like, oh dear, again, the playmaking ability from And then again, subliners is everyone's high on them because of what they saw, like just in scrims, what they've seen around the chatter. They look good against some of the top teams. The same thing can be said about Toronto, minus the scrim portion where S&D is just that massive sort of unknown factor. And we saw what happened in the game number 2. So even if Mac Melts turns up for the squad, helps out the subliners in the hard point, we still have to go to that game number 5 where, yes, the subliners might be able to improve. Our Cloud was not their map.
And I want to highlight Cammy's performance overall, right? Because a lot of people, maybe newer viewers to the CDL, will look at that and say 15-31. That's really underwhelming. That's a terrible performance. It is, sure. 15-31, double negative. But at the end of the day, the playmaker, which basically won his team the map, and it's plays like that which obviously aren't reflected on the scoreboard. So a really good job from him just to really make the play at the very, very end and secure his team the victory. And of course, now up 2-1 in the series. We head back over towards a hard point, and just kind of glancing at the stats, it was another good performance from Mac. So you're really getting what you want out of the young guy. It's just maybe you look at some of the other players on the team now, Chance, you say you got to step up in those big-time moments.
Got to step up, and of course that's like 2 Hackney Yard Doms twice in a row where they are just, again, knocking on the devil's door, but just can't quite get the finish. And just the backtrack to the Cammy thing, right? 15-31. Those are the moments I wish we had like a series of just like YouTube videos, whatever it's going to be, of recording the team's comms 100% of the time and then clipping out like
Exactly
key
that
moments.
moment, yeah.
Because I would love to hear the comms just to hear what either the team is telling Cammy or Cammy's telling the teams of like, hey guys, I'm going to make the play. Here's what's going on. And that's where I want to hear the communication. But obviously, you don't want to listen to them 100% of the time because they'll get fined. Quite a bit. They'll get fined a lot, Ben.
Yes, they would. That's for sure. It's game 4 now underway. Hardpoint St. Petro. Is this where the series is closed out from Toronto Ultra, or potentially New York Subliners push a game 5? Well, it starts off pretty good for New York until Cammy was able to find one, almost found himself a double, but Classic is there to trade. There'll be one more top window looking at him. That's going to be attached. Classic stays alive, and so far so good for Toronto.
Yeah, I'll just say early prediction. I will happily get this out of the way. I do not expect Toronto to win this map. The last time we saw the Subliners play on St. Petro, they looked phenomenal. I think the slaying power in general, at least in hardpoint, Respawn's kind of as a whole, just goes the way of New York. So I definitely am expecting, even though it's been a perfect start for the Toronto Ultra, I still think the Subliners have the edge. But of course, that game number 5, if we get there, who knows?
Well, I think the key here is going to be for New York to hold the spawn for P2. Unfortunately, one player has hit the flank, and it's actually going to be Cammy. Can he find the pick on Zuma? That would have been massive. Unfortunately for him, he's unable to do so. Metal's trying to push straight down the street. That's never really going to work. Zuma will find that pick. And New York will have at least a little bit of control here at P2 off the start, but Toronto Ultra still trying to push through.
Power position, though, on point right now from, well, it's going to be accuracy and attached that are just up top dealing with all these players inside of blue. But Cammy, again, trying to be that guy for the team, leading the charge, and he's the man that's able to get inside of where the Subliners originally wanted to spawn. So now New York is going to spawn out, and you can see they are hunting Cammy down because they knew where he was. Job done, business taken care of. New York working on the comeback.
30 seconds. Unfortunately, up in the hill, Zuma not able to drop shot effectively enough. We look to try and pick up that kill. Attach playing for scrap time 20 seconds. Toronto has fought through valiantly, and on Classic is 5-1 at minute hill time so far. He's put up a great performance to start off game 4. Toronto not able to hold the scrap, and now you look at the rotation. Big fight there from accuracy. Wins the fight, but unfortunately for him, I believe it's going to be Bance who could be able to find a freebie by his standards, and it basically just becomes now a foot race between Mac and Bance to who will get to the hill first. There's your answer. Mac inside with support of Attach.
Yeah, Bench just knows it, right? He knows that he's alone. He doesn't have the teammate support, so he's got to wait. Now that Metals is here, you make the break. Mac, though, easy gunfight for him. Takes down the first man. And, well, the challenge comes in from Metals, but again, the Subliners, well, maybe I don't want to get ahead of myself, but should have enough pressure with the back spawns to stabilize. But I'll eat my words. Toronto inside of the hill, all the pressure going
This is where it's
their
going
way.
to be important here for New York to just push straight through. You don't want to be pinned at the back of the map here whilst not getting the hill time. That is absolute worst case scenario, because you can see already Toronto Ultra spawning closer towards the new hill. Of course, that's going to be Pool Hall. Finally, New York break through, but not for long. Bance is there again. New York, they're basically getting spawn trapped.
Getting spawn trapped, and this is where it actually starts to get dire. As long as someone for Toronto wants to make sure that they start rotating over to Pool Hall, and it looks like Bance is going to be that guy, and Classic's going to tail over with them. They're going to be in a fantastic spot, right? You got a 40-point lead, and this is a hill where full 60s reign king.
You most definitely do. Metals watching attention. Well, find 2 almost. Found a third. Attach finally cleaned up that kill, though. Bear in mind, as this rotation is coming in 20 seconds so far, and Toronto Ultra have been in the hill the entire time. It's Bance soaking up every second he can, trying to give Toronto Ultra a bigger lead. 114 to 53. The kill feed still mainly purple as Temp flies through the front door. There's 1, there's 2. Temp almost snaps for 3. Unfortunately for him, it's Classic that responds with a double. No one in the hill just yet. Zuma trying to get there as fast as he can, but beaten barely by Toronto.
And you can just see how difficult it is to get inside this hill and get a break, right? Like, even when, Temp is going and picking up 3 on his way there, all the pressure New York has been able to put onto it, and eventually they do get through, but that's maybe, 5-10 seconds of contest time, plus the scrap they get at the end. Pool Hall is just incredibly difficult to break through if you don't get that rotation, and Toronto, I was counting them out on the St. Petrograd, but at least after the first set of rotations, fairly comfortable lead, a little bit more than 60 points.
Looking good so far, but of course the game by no means over just yet. In comes the New York Subliners. Contesting the hill, but unfortunately there's still one more player left. It's Cammy. He will eventually drop. New York great. But they're going to have to get themselves a ton of time back into this game, of course. And you really look at that rotation from P1 to P2 as maybe a way of doing it, but Bance, number 5 on the minimap. Again, it's Bance being such a nuisance, and of course he's forced his team to spawn now on the right-hand side of the map, exactly where Toronto want to be spawning.
Have a near full setup on this first hill potentially. Classic going to be the arguable break man, and he wins his first gunfight against Mac. And well, Toronto, the pressure is here to make things messy.
New York for now in control of the first hill, and they stay in control though. Temp with 2, attached with 1. The flank coming through from Cammy. Is it going to be enough though? He should be able to at least find 1 kill. If he gets 2, that would be great. Unfortunately, unable to do so. The trade from Metals is there. Toronto have broken in and also still holding the spawn for P2. This is the best case scenario for Toronto. A team in New York that, as you mentioned, Chance, last time we saw them on this map, they look phenomenal. They need to find a different level right now, because if it stays this way, Toronto are going to close out this series.
And close the series and potentially just take it to them. Yes, the Subliners poised up for those final 20 seconds. And actually, this is a big moment for Toronto. They don't want to let New York actually break through, because I was going to say, New York, a couple players were able to get into blue and potentially able to get towards that new hard point.
Actually, he'll find himself 2. And he find 3 at the back while Methods is stunned. Unfortunately, not cleaned up. And New York have managed to get control of the second hill the hard way. They still don't, of course, have control of the spawns. And accuracy is going to be a key player for New York, as he finds 2. Watching across from, of course, the first hill. Still a lot of work needs to be done here for New York. This is by no means a comfortable hold so far. A lot of pressure going to start coming in towards the hill soon.
A lot of pressure coming in towards the hill, but again, you got Mac inside doing his thing, able to pick up a couple kills. He's going to be on a 4 spree, and just see if he can let it ride, because he's got teammates with a little bit of pressure on the outset for him, but eventually Toronto are able to get through, and that's a big moment for Toronto. Again, just making sure the Subliners can't chip away at the lead.
You're just keeping the pressure on the entire time, and of course, now if you're New York, you're thinking about, well, we need to play for the 20 seconds, but you also need to rotate over towards Hazmat P3, a crucial hill. You don't want to give up too much time, and well, for New York, they're not going to get the scrap. They have to rotate, and in my honest chance, this game just got infinitely harder here for the Subliners.
And again, they're just going to have to, I mean, what? You're down by 90 on St. Petro. It's feasible that the Subliners can catch up, but it's really about just chaining these next 2 hills. You basically have to get 2 back-to-back full 60s, so it's possible, but incredibly difficult. And right now, attached, the lone man inside the hill. Admittedly, though, his teammates are getting a lot of the
Bear in mind, in the first rotation, New York got spawn trapped. Really, for about 20 seconds of this hill. They don't want to be spawning at the back. Unfortunately, for now, they are. They will need to push through here. They cannot allow what happened in the first rotation to happen again. Otherwise, plain and simple, they will lose this map. Toronto Ultra putting so much pressure on, but still New York spawning at the back. Still Toronto trying to push through, trying to contest. As you said, Chance, just chipping away at that lead as much as they can, and just halting any potential comeback. 211 to 151, 20 seconds left. That rotation to pull hole now is basically everything.
And someone for the Subliners has to get through. They got to find a way to get around. Temp is going to be the one that is trying to be that guy. But even still, you look at the positioning on the map, Subliners, they're just nowhere near it. And they're not going to win the rotation at all. So this is going to be potentially the game right here. If the Subliners do not find a way to break through on pull, they're going to.
That was actually a really important win for Methods. It slows down any push on the water side of the map. And while now if you're New York, you're only going to have a couple of attempts to do this correctly. Unfortunately for Mac, he's not able to find much. Metals shuts down 2. Both Mac and Temp full. The hill contested. Metals had no idea where that was from. Bance, of course, trying to watch the cross. Good use of smokes from New York. They're again touching the hill, but it's 1 by 1. And if you're Toronto Ultra, you're happy with this. You'll keep picking up kill after kill after kill. New York got to touch the hill. Toronto can win here.
Toronto can win here, and they are poised up to do it. A couple players up top. Subliners trying to work their way around back the pinch, and now the break is potentially in, trying to win the gunfights inside the hill, and success is there from the Subliners, but again, just maybe trying to stay alive.
Ben's trying to make the play! Ben's trying to make the play! He can't close the game out here, but it could be valuable scrap time for Toronto Ultra. Mac has rotated. Now you're looking at New York having to play perfectly, and it doesn't even look like they're going to get early control of this hill either. Finally, though, Zoomer springs into life. He finds himself 2. And again, for New York Subliners, you have to play perfect Call of Duty to try and force a Game 5. Toronto trying to break in. It's going to be Methods. He finds himself 2. He finds himself 3. The pistol out. Toronto Ultra take game 4, 250 to 182. They take the series 3-1. And for New York Subliners, it's back to the drawing board.
And what a fantastic bounce back story for Toronto. Everyone, I think, pretty much was counting them out. 90-something% of the community, whatever it was going to be, and all the chatter about how good New York has gotten. And not for a bad reason. They do look better, but the same thing can be said about Toronto. They've been making those improvements, even if it's like small and incrementally. We don't quite know what we're going to get out of this team.
Right.
It is a beautiful start from them. But I will say, of course, it is just match number 1. There's been a lot of teams that win their first series and then lose the next 2.
Right.
So job not over yet, but a perfect start just about for the
And obviously,
Ultra.
we mentioned Cammy's poor performance in game 3. Hell of a performance in game 4. What a turnaround. 34 kills, 28 deaths. Classic, though. Over 2 minutes hill time from him. 25 and 20. Overall, a fantastic performance from him. And Toronto Ultra as a whole, 10 more CDL points. They're going to love that. That's going to boost them up, I believe, to 30 points in the leaderboard. But I think that's probably just a big win for them, just to get a little bit of confidence under their belt. And more importantly, chance to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and they've got to be a strange team to like prepare for, right? Because obviously when you get to scrim against them, you sort of know what to expect in hardpoint. But at the same time, that's the first time we watched them on St. Petrograd hardpoint this entire year, and they've had 3 different rosters that they've thrown at us, right? So it's tough to prepare against them in Search and Destroy. It's apparently tough to prepare against them and potentially the respawns as well, because there's not a massive amount of information. And as high as everyone has been on New York, yes, they still have the opportunity to make that comeback, but Toronto clearly here, clearly
Of course, giving some love to the Challengers players out there as well. In terms of the Challenger Cups, 5 total online events, a combined purse of $250,000. There's, of course, different regions as well, from North America, Europe, and, of course, the Asia-Pacific region. I believe the next one is actually May 15th, May 16th. So, dedicated Sunday broadcast. Both myself and you, Chance, have casted it. A ton of fun. It's always good seeing the up-and-comer players really trying to make a name for themselves.
I mean, it was not only that. I was having fun just like evaluating the casters. I had like a mini cast-off kind of going on in the back of my mind, just seeing how the up-and-coming guys are going to do. But it was a good time, and I look forward to more Challengers broadcasts in the future.
Yeah, it should be a good time. That is for sure. Excited to see, again, some of those up-and-coming players really make a name for themselves. I mean, the prime example right now in the community is Matt, right? From Challengers to the CDL, and boy, oh boy, is he making a name for himself. Unfortunately, though, if you're New York or a fan of New York, despite a great effort and a fantastic improvement, they're still picking up L's, which is unfortunate for them. But congrats to Toronto Ultra. They progressed through. We'll see them in action tomorrow. Still one more game of the day, though. It's the Mutineers versus Røkkr. We'll be back after this.